Hey friends, and welcome back to another installment of Academically Dope on Monday, where I encourage you, the graduate student, to make it through Monday, but also provide you with tips and tools on how to survive graduate school, but just not survival, being successful without losing your mind. I know we're all interested in it, and so I'm here to help you. Today's installment, I'm going to talk about a CV. But I want to talk to you about it in two installments because I don't want to assume that you're familiar with any of this information that I'm giving you, all right? So if you have heard of a CV, if you're a new graduate student and you're like, what the heck is a CV? Or you're a undergraduate student and your master's program or graduate school is asking you for a CV, you're kind of like, what's a CV? I don't even know what a CV is. Then you want to tune in. If you're in graduate school and they're telling you, hey, you need to get your CV ready for fellowships, for the job market, and you're like, okay, how do I do that? Then this video is for you. If you're a professor and you're just looking forward to revamping your CV, then this video is for you, but ultimately next week's video is definitely for you because I'm gonna walk you through a few ways of how to organize your CV. Without further ado, let's talk about CV. CV is the shortened word for curriculum vitae. CV, curriculum vitae. And it's basically a snapshot of your academic profile. It provides reviewers information on basically who you are, your research agenda, and why you may or may not be a prime candidate for the position for which you are applying. Your CV ultimately is one of the vehicles through which people make decisions based on what they see on paper. It could be their first introduction of who you are if they're reviewing like a grad school application or even a job market application, right? So it's basically giving them a sense of who you are on paper before they read anything else about you. Now, there is a difference between a CV and a resume, and I want to make sure that I am clear that there is a difference. Ultimately, your CV is for academic use. It tells about your education, your research, your conferences, basically professionalism. It helps viewers understand how professionalized you are. Your resume, on the other hand, is what you would use for a job outside of academia. It does include your education, but it more heavily focuses on job experience. Basically, your CV is what you would use inside of academia, and your resume is what you would use outside of academia, unless you are applying for like an admin job at a university. However, the two should never cross, ultimately. There are circumstances where the two do cross, and that is if your job experience directly informs your research agenda. But other than that, you should not put, hey, I worked at McDonald's, I was a supervisor on your CV. Ultimately, academics just don't care about that. Academics really want to know how you're going to advance the profile of the institution, how well of a researcher you are, and what you can bring to the table. There are a few things that you need to remember when thinking about constructing a CV. You need to remember that it's a live document. It means that it's always evolving, always changing and shifting, and I'm going to go into that a little bit more in the next video next week. But your CV is a live document. You're not going to do everything you will do on your first year in grad school, right? Your ideas will change. You will present at more conferences. You will do more things. So it's always evolving, and you will have to eventually make judgment calls on what you will include and what you will refrain from including. You also should keep in mind, and even in the early stages, there would be different versions of your CV based on the need of it. You will have a different CV if you're applying for grants and fellowships. You will have a different one for research institutions if you're on the job market, as well as one that's different if you're applying for a teaching institution. Ultimately, it's the same document, but you're moving things around because you want the importance of what you're doing at the top. So say for instance, you're applying for grants and fellowships, you may move that from the 4th page, if you have 4 pages, to like the 1st page or the 2nd page. If you're applying for a research institution, you're gonna make sure that your research is highlighted on the 1st page. If you're applying for a teaching institution, you're gonna make sure that your teaching is highlighted high up on the 1st page, right? I'm gonna go into different breakdowns next week, but I wanna get you thinking about what a CV is and get you prepared for the workshop, the virtual workshop that we're gonna do on constructing a CV and making it readable for your general audience. To recap, a CV is different from a resume. The two should never collapse, right? You should never add those two together unless one is directly informed by the other. Your CV is a live document. It will always change. It will always evolve. So you should keep a master, and then based on what you're going to be applying for, whether it's fellowships, teaching institutions, research institutions, then you should kind of shift the master document to create a mini document that will basically appeal to what the position is that you're applying for. So I want to leave you with that tidbit. I hope to see you next week for Academically Dope on Monday, because it's time that we get excited about Monday. Monday is excited about you, so why not change your perspective on Monday? Also, if you haven't told a friend that I'm here, if you have not told a friend that I'm here, you're being selfish. You need to tell your friends that I'm here giving free advice to graduate students, and I do it from a place of love and wanting to help, because I know what it was like trying to navigate graduate school and wonder, am I gonna make it out? So I hope that you will feel encouraged, and that something that I say, one of the videos that I record, will help speak to a need that you may have. As always, I'm accepting questions. So if you have a question related to graduate school and you need an answer that you don't really have someone to ask at your university, feel free to submit it. You can DM me, you can message me, or you can comment under the video, and I'll be sure to record a video about it. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find it or find someone who has the answer for you. I hope that helped you. Make sure you tune in next week for the CV workshop, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.